Morning, everyone. I can see that we still have a couple of people joining. So let's just give it another minute or two. But you've joined the Huddo board's task and project management for Domino. So we'll just give it a minute or two, and then Nikki and myself will get started with our presentation. Okay, I think we might kick off. It's a couple of minutes past the hour. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Hayley Burkout, and you've joined the Task and Project Management with Huddo Boards for Domino session. So today we're going to take you through a little bit of what Huddo Boards looks like and Huddo Boards for Domino specifically. So just want to say a quick thank you to Richard Moy and all of his team at CollabSphere for all of the organisation that they've done. We're really happy that we can be a sponsor for CollabSphere for 2022, and we look forward to doing that for many years to come. I can see that there's already been a great number of sessions that have happened and are still to happen. So a big thank you and to Richard and his team, and we're really happy that we can be here. So my name is Hayley Burkout. I am the Customer Success Manager for Huddo Boards. I am based in Melbourne, Australia. And my job really is to help customers get the best experience of Huddo Boards and ensure that they take advantage of all of the features and integrations that Huddo Boards has across multiple platform integration points. Nikki, can I ask you to introduce yourself quickly?
Sure. Hi, I'm Nikki. I'm one of the senior developers on Huddo Boards. I work out of the office in Tasmania, Australia, and I get to work across the whole stack of software development, from database design, DevOps and automation, right through to the front-end styling.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So Huddo Boards and Huddo Apps, you may have heard the name previously, Kudos Boards, Kudos Apps. So that was our former name, but now we have rebranded in the last couple of years to Huddo Boards, Huddo Apps. And there's a range of applications that fall under the Huddo Apps brand. So that's boards, Huddo badges, analytics, and the Huddo CCM migrator tool as well. So Huddo Apps is a software brand that sits under the company ISW Development, which the head office is where Nikki is based in Hobart, Tasmania. And we also have offices throughout Australia, throughout the capital cities, and also staff in Europe as well. And of course, we have customers worldwide. And we're also very proud to be an HCL managed service provider. And we're really happy to support customers worldwide in that effort as well. So what we're going to talk about today is Huddo Boards for Domino. So you probably know that Huddo Boards has for a very long time been integrated with HCL connections, and we have a lot of really great integration points there. Those are still developing, and we'll have, we recently released another integration feature when we were at Engage in Bruges, Belgium in May this year. But this session today will look at Huddo boards in Domino. And so this is a new feature, new integration point, and it allows any customers who are not using HCL connections but are using HCL Domino to authenticate with Domino and have access to the platform and be able to use Huddo boards fully, authenticating with Domino. So the approach of Huddo boards really, and I'm going to flip over to a demo in a second, but the idea of Huddo boards and task management and lightweight project management, it's really coming from 3 different perspectives. So we have the personal task management approach. And so that's managing your day-to-day activities at an individual level. And I'll show you what that might look like. We've got the team collaboration aspect, which is working with your colleagues to get projects done or to get communal tasks completed. And the third perspective is invited external parties. So working with people who are external to your organization to complete tasks. And underpinning all of this is our vision of software integration. So Huddo boards has always been very much focused on integrating into where you work. So whether that's in Connections or Domino or another platform, the idea is that you can work where your primary workspace is, and Huddo boards will fit in there seamlessly for you. So I'm going to flip over to the demo now. Nikki, just confirming you can see my board screen?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, so I've come across 2 Huddo boards in the web, and you can get here using this boards.huddo.com. So this is, you can almost think of this like your starting page. So this is where you come to access any of the boards that you're working on. Before I get to that point, I'll just point out that here in my little profile HB, you can see that I'm authenticating with Domino. And so Nikki's going to talk a little bit later about the technical requirements of getting set up with the authentication with Domino. Yep. And then, but we've got other options as well. You can also see that I've got a couple of different authenticators linked here, and it is possible to have multiple. As you can see, I also use Connections and Microsoft, but for today, I'm using my primary authenticator as Domino. So once you've logged into Huddo boards with your Domino authentication, you come here to the My Boards dashboard. And this is where you come to see all of the boards that you're working on, that you're active in, that you've created yourself, or that you've been invited to participate in. And so each of these tiles here represents a board that I'm working on. And when we're talking about a board, it could be something like a set of tasks or a project, and we're managing those tasks or projects through that board. So as I mentioned, we've kind of got those 3 different perspectives of Huddo boards, the individual task management perspective. And so for me personally, I have this board here, October 2022. This is actually a rolling board for me. So each month I update it to say, September, October, or November, but I have tasks that roll from month to month. And then I'll continue to update in here about their progress, and also just plug in all of the information if I need to follow up with someone, if I need to call someone. This is a board specifically for myself. I'm the only member, but I find it really helpful to keep track of my own tasks in here so that I don't forget anything. The second perspective that I mentioned was that we have the ability to collaborate with colleagues to get a project done. So as an example, I have this one here. This is one that I'm actually working on now. I was just talking to Nikki about it before we started. So we are responding to a government tender to apply for their marketplace. And I've created this board and I'm working with my colleagues and assigning tasks to them so that we can make sure that we complete the application on time. So that's the collaboration, team collaboration aspect. And the third perspective might be something like working with invited external parties. So that would be someone who's external to my organization. I can invite them to a board. I can control their level of permissions, and we can manage the project together, as opposed to managing over email or spreadsheets, sending things back and forth. We can have a board that provides a visual workspace for us to work together. That might be something like if you're working with an external marketing company, external auditors or accountants, whatever it is, you can invite them to your board, contractors, and work there. So in this space, I'm going to jump into a board to show you what that looks like. But here on the left-hand side, we won't get time to go through these today, but there are some examples of this on our video resources page that you're welcome to have a look at. So we've got the to-dos area, which brings all of your tasks across all of your boards into one place. And we've got the templates area. So if you have any repeatable tasks that you need to look at or that you will roll out monthly, then you can create templates from a board and just use that as required. So let's have a look at one of our boards. So this is our product improvement board, and you can see that we've got the title up the top. Underneath the title in blue here, we've got our lists. So our lists are a way of breaking down our tasks. It's the ability to sort of categorize where the tasks fall, and there's no right or wrong way of setting this up. So what I have here for this particular project, we've got customer support, request backlog in progress, etc. That may be completely different, and we may have completely different lists to what a different project would have. So here our lists are really dynamic and flexible, and we can drag and drop them around the board as things change or as we're getting the board set up. Underneath our lists, we have our cards. So a card could be something like this blue one here, linked to our big project board. You'll notice that this card doesn't have a tick box on it, so we call this an entry. And this might be a piece of information that informs the overall project. So it could be links to particular documents, to particular scope of work. But this is more about information in the board that's going to inform the project. The other option for a card is like this one, where it has a tick box. So we know that this is something that needs to be completed. And when we're looking at a card from the outside, we can see we've got some color labels here at the top, which correspond to these colors on the right-hand side. We have members assigned, and we can also see that we've got some comments, links, subcards, description, etc. So if I come in and have a look here at this card, we can see that we've got the title up the top. We can see we've got a description, and we can copy and paste into this area as well. We've got a start and an end date. And when we have a start and an end date, this means that it'll automatically be added to the timeline view. And I'll show you that in a second. We can see we've got assigned members as well. So when we have more than one person, so if we have two people, for example, assigned to a particular task, we get the option at the bottom to say all must complete this task or anyone can complete. So I really like this feature because perhaps there's a couple of, for particular tasks, you may need both people to complete the task before you can move on. They both have parts that are relevant. And if I did mark this complete, I can see that I get a tick against my name, but my colleague Craig didn't get a tick because he still needs to complete his part. This task actually has dependencies on it. So I've received this pop-up. This is one of our newest feature releases, and we have a great video on our video resources page that digs a little bit deeper into this. But here I can see that actually there are tasks that need to be completed before I can mark this guided tour planning task complete. So I do have the option to force complete here at the bottom. I'm just going to cancel that for now because it's reminded me that I'm yet to complete these ones here. Here we also have the ability to add links and attachments, and we can do that up the top here. I use this a lot, the bookmark option, if I'm linking through to URLs or files that are online. You can also upload directly to this board as well. And we've got the option to link through to a file, depending on what your file directory is, whether that's in Office or in Connections. But again, if you're not using either of those, if it's sitting somewhere else, then the bookmark is a really good option to be able to navigate and open files. We had a quick chat about the dependencies. They can be added here at the top. And so we get this nice little pop-up to say, to choose your dependency. And then we can say, and this description at the bottom is really handy. So guided tour planning for next generation will need to wait until whichever task I select here is completed. And we can always swap the direction around as well if we realize that, oh, it should be the other way. We'll have a look at dependencies, again, what that looks like outside of the card in just a second. Here down the bottom, we've got some color labels. So I can see that this task is high importance. It's also going to require some sales input and some content for socials as well. We've also got subcards here. So subcards can be a really simple checklist, and I can say, yep, I'm going to get these done. Otherwise, it might be something that we need to dig a little bit deeper into. So we may need to jump into a subcard and add a lot of the same information that we did in our main card. I really like this because it allows you to dig a little bit deeper. Sometimes a checklist is not enough, but here I can come back in, I can assign to colleagues, I can add dependencies as well. I can add in notes, descriptions or files to make sure that I'm getting all of the groundwork done before I mark my overall parent task as complete. We've also got the comments area here on the right-hand side. And this, you can use the @ symbol on your keyboard, and I can mention colleagues. So if I say to my colleague Nikki, who's in this board, this task is underway, and Nikki will get a notification, or if he's in the board, he'll be able to see that he's been mentioned. And I can actually see now this is persistent awareness. So we can see that Nikki is actually now looking at this particular task, and he's commented here. And if I come outside of the card, I can see that Nikki is still looking at this and working on it here. So this gives you a really nice view of, once you've got a couple of people working within a board, you can see where people are working and who's looking at what, and continue the conversation. So on the right-hand side, that leads me to the members. So you can see here, Nikki is active and myself, we're both active because we have the little green dot against our profiles. Nikki may be looking at Huddo boards, this particular board, in a completely different view to me. So the benefit of Huddo boards and the real-time updates and the ability to flip between views is that you can choose the view that works best for you. Not everyone may be a Kanban board user. They may prefer something like a mind map or timeline, but we can each work with our own visual preference within the board itself. So just like our lists, our cards are flexible and can be dragged and dropped between the board. Also drag and drop is the members and the color labels as well. So we can drag and drop these onto the cards. I can assign to colleagues, and we can also filter here as well. So if I want to see what Nikki is working on, I can filter down to his tasks. If I wanted to see what are my high priority tasks for myself, I can choose high priority in the colors and my profile icon here as well. So we've got a couple of different options in addition to the search bar at the top if you wanted to filter down to a particular keyword, and you've got some more advanced features here. So this is our Kanban board view. This is probably fairly familiar to most people, but this is a really nice classic way I often work from left to right in this. The other views that we have in this Kanban board view, we can also see by assignment. So I can see any of my unassigned tasks, which is really helpful if you've got a big project and you know that everything must be taken care of. We've also can see what our colleagues are working on as we move across the board. So if you see that a particular person has a lot on their plate and perhaps that's going to cause some bottlenecks, we can reassign tasks and to colleagues to share the workload. So this can be a really nice view, particularly if you're leading a project, if you're a team leader, and you need to see where the workload lies for your team. Likewise, we also have this view for to-dos by date. So all of my cards that don't have a date on the left-hand side through to their due dates and when they're happening. Quickly, I'll show you the mind map view. So this gives you a nice big picture overview of where your tasks are happening. And we have different options here on the right for the layout. You can change the view of this. But we have all of the same functionality that we did before. So I can drag and drop lists and cards around the board as required. Our next view is the timeline view. And so this view, I'm just going to change this over to lists. So we have our lists here on the left-hand side. So that was our list that we had in blue in the Kanban board. And you can see here that we have some arrows which are connecting our dependencies. So if I hover over the dependency icon, which is that three-pointed icon, here I get a highlight of the dependencies and where they are connected. If this is getting a little bit busy for you and you find that it's hard to keep track of all the arrows, you can turn this off in the right-hand bottom corner and hide dependency arrows. And we can instead just use the hover to see where those dependencies are lying. Another, from this area, from this area, you can also create the dependency. So you saw that we could do the dependency within the card itself, which of course is still an option. We can come up here and add dependency. But from this area as well, we can actually use the drag and drop and do that again. Oops. And we can, oh, there we go. We can drag dependency using that blue arrow here in the bottom right, drag it onto a card, and it will create the dependency. So I find that is a really helpful way just to be really straightforward and say, okay, this depends on that. And then you can see it in action for yourself with the hover over feature. So in this timeline view as well, like I said to begin with, any of our cards that have a start and an end date will automatically be added to the timeline. If they don't, we've got unscheduled cards here at the bottom, and we can drag and drop these onto the board. So Here as well, we've got the view of, we can group by colors. So what are my high priority tasks and when are they happening? Medium, low, etc. And also by assignment view as well. So again, this can be a really nice view to see who's doing what and when. If has someone got too much on their plate, is it going to cause bottlenecks for the project? Our last view is the activity view. And this is just a really simple drop-down list view. Has all of the same functionality, just very linear. Again, we can drag and drop around the board, our lists, our cards as well. And I quite like this view because it reminds me of my notebook, how I might write my notes down. But really simple view, but I think really valuable still. I'm going to come back to our main Huddo boards area. So that's the basics of Huddo boards very much in a nutshell. But I wanted to show you, so our main points of integration at the moment for Domino is that you can authenticate with Domino to access Huddo boards. And that gives you access to boards via the web, and you have access to the full application. The other point of integration that we have at the moment is in Birth. So if I come across here, I've got an email that's relevant to the board that I was working on. You can add in the Verse integration for a Huddo board. So I click this ... I can save my email as a card. I really like this because it stops me from forwarding emails to perhaps, 8 people who are in the board. If it's relevant to the particular board, what I want to do is save it to that board as opposed to forward it on an email, because inevitably someone will hit reply all and my inbox will just be annihilated. So I like the save email as card. I'm going to get this little pop-up here. It pulls the title of the email into the title of the card, but I can always update this. You can see I can click in and edit this. It should say include email body. That's the content that I've got here in my email. And it's choosing for me the most recent board that I've been active in, but I can select any of the boards that I have access to. I can put it in a particular list that I was working on. So if I put it in customer support, for example, and I can give it a due date, and I can assign it to members as well. So if I assign this to my colleague, Nikki, and I'm going to press create, it gives me the option to automatically open the board, but I can also just come back here to the board that I was working on. Let's have a look in the Kanban view for ease. And so we put it in the customer support list. At the bottom here, you can see this is my card. If I open this up, it's got all of the content of my email. Pictures aren't rendering perfectly, but I've got all of the important information here. I've got the due date, assignment, and I can come in here and start the conversation with Nikki to say, hey, this came through, chat about it. And Nikki's already looking at this as well, because he would have been notified that he was assigned a card. So that's the Verse integration. What you also have, if you are using the Notes client, I won't show this now, but I'm happy if you have any questions about how to do it, and I may have a short video on it as well, is that we have the Notes client where you can have your Notes client open and Huddo boards open side by side, and you can drag emails from the Notes client across to Huddo boards. So it's really simple. It's another good option if you're not using Verse, but I think that ability to create cards from emails is really valuable. So that is Huddo boards in a whirlwind, in a nutshell. And I'm going to come back to my slides. And Nikki, can I ask you to chat a little bit about the technical aspects of
Certainly can.
Huddo boards for Domino? Thank you.
Thanks, Hayley. Yeah, I'd like to run through some of the high-level requirements for getting boards running in your own Domino and or verse environment today. Huddo Boards has a couple of requirements that have to be set up on the Domino side first, as on this slide. Both of these features are in the Domino app dev pack, which you can get from HCL. We also have our eye on Domino Keep, which may replace this app dev pack requirement in future. It does look very promising. So currently from the app dev pack, you need to set up identity and access management, or IAM. And using that, you need to configure an authentication client, which will allow your users to log into Huddo Boards with their Domino credentials. You also need to set up the Domino Proton add-in task, which allows boards to make queries to Domino. It lets your users find their colleagues and the groups that they're in so that they can collaborate with them, so add them to a board and assign tasks and mention them like Haley showed. There's a good guide from HCL at the link on this slide, which goes through the setup of app dev pack, including both of these things. We've helped quite a few customers at this stage get this set up though. So if you have any issues setting these things up, feel free to reach out to our support team. If you could jump to the next slide, Haley. Thank you. Once you have those Domino pieces in place, there's a few different ways that you can get up and running with Huddo Boards. We have a number of customers who prefer to keep their own data local in their data center and host boards themselves. And we've got templates for running boards in that type of environment in your own data center or in your own private cloud instance. The boards server is made up of 8 microservice Docker containers, which can easily run on a single server, and we have quite a few people that do that successfully. Or you can run multiple instances of each of those and load balance them, support a much larger, more resilient deployment. If it's suitable for your needs, then it's certainly much simpler to use our cloud service at boards.huddo.com. And you can allow it to communicate with your Domino IAM and Proton services directly. As it says in the slide, we have a static outbound IP, so you can not expose those services to the wider internet. We use that for a few different purposes. For any of the options that I've discussed, you should check out our comprehensive documentation at docs.huddo.com. But more importantly, if you're interested in having a look at the product at Huddo Boards, then you should jump over to boards.huddo.com and start your free trial today.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Nikki. So that I probably should have mentioned at the beginning, but if you have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat box. We do have a question. Great, Eric, thank you. This is probably for you, Nikki. Mm-hmm. Where does the application store the data? Is there mobile app or UI? Oh, sorry, or mobile UI? Is there any other integration with Domino besides authentication and lookup of people's names that we have planned in the future? So I can answer the one not so technical question. So we do have mobile applications. So we have for Android and iOS, and you can find those in the App Store. I think for Android, it may still be listed under Huddo Boards. So just if you have any questions about that, feel free to send me an email, or I can reach out to you afterwards and provide you some links. But there is mobile applications that you can use. Yes.
The application itself is also very mobile friendly. So on your phone, you can just go to boards.huddo.com or to your URL, and yeah, it's all very responsive and written from a mobile perspective.
Yeah, perfect. And Nikki, can I hand over to you to answer where does the application store the data, please?
Certainly. So Boards uses a Mongo database. In our cloud version, that's stored in, it's housed in Google Cloud in Netherlands. So yeah, persistence for Boards we have 3 different persistent stores. So Mongo is the source of all of the data. Any files that you upload directly to a board are stored in a S3 compatible storage. And we also have a Redis cache to help the application run faster. We cache lots of requests. In your own deployment, those can be existing services that you have, or in our templates, we certainly have set up ways to run those on the single server or on separate servers, and we've got many different ways that can be set up.
I have a question.
Sure.
So the Domino server does not store any of the data?
Sorry, can you repeat?
So none of the data is stored on a Domino server, and servers primarily serve as the interface, or? Yeah,
so the services themselves are essentially stateless. They use the cache so that to make sure that they don't hit the data store a lot. But because of the nature of Boards, we seem to very quickly end up with millions of rows of data. And yeah, the microservices approach lets us cache those at levels that matter. So, but yeah, the source of truth is in an external Mongo data store.
So the Domino just serves as the interface layer then, or?
Yeah, I guess it's like a application logic layer.
Okay.
So the microservices provide the application logic, the authentication, and the reusable API, as well as the interface layer. That's correct.
Okay.
Thanks, Richard. And the other question that we had is there any other integration with Domino besides authentication and lookup of people's names? What do we have planned?
Yeah, so currently it is authentication and lookup of people and group names, which lets you add people or groups to a board. From the notes perspective, we certainly have planned a sidebar add-in to notes that will let you drag and drop there and see your current tasks whilst in notes. We also have, as I mentioned just before, we have a published API, and we plan to have a application development kit, which will help notes developers create and read data to and from boards. It's a space that we're certainly looking at more, and keen for feedback on how to expand.
Awesome. So that was all of our questions for the moment, and we're quickly approaching time. So I just wanted to say, for finishing up, if you have any questions about this, about Huddo boards, about authenticating with Domino, you're most welcome to reach out to us at hello@huddo.com. As Nikki said, you're also, we would encourage you to start the free trial at boards.huddo.com, and you can find plenty of information on our website, huddo.com/boards. And we also have our video resources page, which has quite a number of short videos with integrations and features and functionalities of Huddo boards. But you are most welcome to have a free trial to see if Huddo boards is the right fit for you. And if you have any questions along the way, or if you'd like to do a session, learning session with your team, then just reach out to us and we can organize that for you. But I think that is everything for today. So thank you very much for joining. Thank you, Nikki, and thank you, Richard, as well, and CollabSphere. We're really happy that we could sponsor, and we definitely look forward to doing it again. And thank you very much, and we wish you all the best and enjoy your future sessions.
Thanks, Hayley.
Thanks, everyone. Okay, have a good day.